Hey, Pastor Steve Waldron. I hope you're having a great day, incredible day in Jesus. Thanks for being here. We're in Creation versus Evolution by Brother R.O. Molenpaul. He went on to his reward not long ago. What a great man, one of the greatest Christians I've ever met. He was a scientist, a chemist, worked in the field of chemistry for many, many years, president of Gateway College of Evangelism, and he wrote what I consider probably the finest introductory book to creation science that I have ever read. It's very even-handed. He just extraordinarily judicious. No, inflammatory, extraordinary claims. They can't be verified. Very humble, very just unbelievable book. So, and this was one of the, several years ago, probably 8, 9, 10 years ago, when we first started doing videos on YouTube, this was one of the first books that I reviewed. And so kind of what I just felt, what I wanted to do is teach our way through this book. Just read a little bit maybe from the book, discuss things. I started in 2007, I want to say. I started a class at Indiana Bible College when I was there called Science in the Bible. We've used this in several textbooks over the years. Some with, MIT PhD textbook, one with 2 PhDs, textbook author. Henry Morris, A Long War Against God was a textbook one year. I've kind of tried to go through it. But let's just go through this and take it a little bit at the time. And I will say that from when I first started teaching, the realms of biblical archaeology, which I used to teach biblical archaeology there at the school as well, still teach Christian evidence there, and Science in the Bible, YouTube has just exploded this stuff. Guys like Kurt Wise, PhD Harvard on here, James Tour, considered one of the greater microbiologist in the world down at Baylor University is on here. John Lennox, of course, I think he's got 3 PhDs, and he's somewhat of a creation scientist. We might disagree some on the age of the earth and things like that, but he does make some great arguments. Of course, Stephen Meyer, PhD, Cambridge, and on, that the field has changed. It has shifted. There's so many tremendous resources now for creation research that we just didn't have. Folks down in New Zealand, they've got a great YouTube channel going, and just so many. So let's just dive into this. And so, again, thanks for being here. Do check out our other videos. Join us daily. Share with your friends. Put on social media if you can help us out. So how's the word science used in the Bible? Many of you would know this. It's used twice, Daniel 1:4 and 1 Timothy 6:20. And 1 Timothy 6:20 it says, avoiding oppositions of science, falsely so called. And so I would say that things like theistic evolution over the years, 40 years or whatever, studying often on this subject, that I was getting some degree in creation science. I don't even want to go into all this. This was a long time ago, a PhD, but I never finished it. But going into this, and studying it, like Darwin, when you study Darwin and Alfred Wallace and where evolution came from, and then Darwin's grandfather, Zoonomia, the Temple of Nature. I've got reviews of his books, Erasmus Darwin, which is Charles Darwin's grandfather, who was in the Hellfire Club there, and just a history of evolution. It really wasn't based on science. And then the X Club that they had that kind of was a semi-secret society. T.H. Huxley, who was known as Darwin's bulldog, who's the one that coined the term agnostic, that, it in the UK especially, it let the only evolutionists basically get promoted. And then, Charles Darwin changing his mind on evolution in a certain sense, he still believed in evolution, but he believed mechanisms were different. From 1859 to 1870 in The Descent of Man, there was a change in his thinking. And then so many of the things, if you read The Origin of the Species, what a brilliant writer he was, by the way. Brilliant writer. I remember reading his autobiography, and he was very devastated about his little daughter that passed away. That was, I think, a real defining point in his life, just studying his life. Things he didn't know, assumptions that he made that aren't true, such as the irreducible complexity of Michael Behe, of Darwin's black box, that the smallest particles we know of now are infinitely complex. 15 so-called engines, 60 stomachs, and a bacteria and stuff. Darwin just didn't know any of this. And how did the eye evolve, and various things such as this. So I don't think anybody disputes about microevolution, that within a species things can change, and epigenetics and these type things. But it's the transmigration of species. So I would say that the theory of macroevolution would be an example of science, falsely so called. And I do appreciate creation scientists on so many levels, because it seems like when they come up with hypotheses like the creation of mountains or Noah's flood or the KT layer around the world, that they re-examine their thoughts. I remember reading a story one time about Chinese scientists came to America and began ridiculing Charles Darwin. And, they were in high educational settings, and they were quickly told, don't do that. And then the Chinese said, well, it's funny, in America, you can criticize your government, but you can't criticize Charles Darwin. In China, we can criticize Charles Darwin, but we can't criticize our government. So the definition of science, I really enjoyed this. And there's various definitions: observation, experimentation, verifiable, testable, and repeatable. Webster defines science as systemized knowledge derived from observation, study, and experimentation. And so we all know there's a hypothesis, a testability, repeatability, and then conclusions on the matter. And so true science has just helped us. And Francis Bacon, I was reading his Organum Novium, where we get the scientific method from. Some people think he wrote Shakespeare. I don't think he wrote Shakespeare. But so what are the steps in the scientific method? Moldenpaw says problem or question, hypotheses, controlled experimentation, correlation of data into a generalization or law, and then check the law. And what are some ways to solve problems other than the scientific method? He's got things like appeal to higher authority method, which is an incorrect way, because for years opinions of higher authority, such as Aristotle, were correct. It was proven wrong by scientific experimentation. So what are some questions that should not be answered scientifically? That's got a very good section in here, and he goes in what's the differences between a theory and a law. And then here's really the big thing: why can't questions regarding origins be answered scientifically? So I think we'll close just reading some of that. Since we can't observe, repeat, or verify origins, and the Miller-Urey experiments back in the 50s, certainly didn't do that. That's been very much debunked now. I'm thinking of, was it Zombie Science or Icons of Evolution by Jonathan Wells? It does a tremendous job debunking that. That's another thing. So many of the sciences, falsely so-called, have been debunked, but yet the narratives continue for many decades and put into textbooks. And even though they're demonstrably wrong, as Icons of Evolution, and Wells, he passed away as well not long ago. So since we can't observe, repeat, or verify origins, scientific method does not apply. The only one that was there was God, so we have some observability. So we're going to stop there with the question, is the Bible scientifically accurate? So God bless. Check out our other videos. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.